Before you move away from this, let your heart sit here for just a moment. Not because this is a video, but because this is a reminder. There is something in your life right now that feels unfinished. A weight you carry quietly, a question you never say out loud. And you've been strong for so long that even you forgot how tired you are. But listen gently. What you are going through is not random. It is not wasted, and it is not unseen. By the end of this message, you will understand why Allah allowed this season to touch your life, not in general, but in a way that is deeply personal to your own heart. Most people will listen to a few words and move on. But the one who stays is often the one whose heart was already ready to hear what comes at the end. So stay with me, not for answers, but for clarity. Because sometimes Allah does not change your situation first. He changes the way you see it. Allah marked you for a path most hearts would collapse under. There are some lives that look calm when you watch them from far away. You see the person walking, working, smiling, talking. You think they seem fine. But inside that person, there is a quiet storm that never fully rests. And sometimes that person is you. You move through the day, doing what needs to be done. You answer people, you show up, you keep going. But inside, there is a weight that sits in your chest like a stone. Not sharp, not loud, just heavy. And you carry it everywhere, even into your sleep, even into your dreams. You wake up some mornings and before you even touch the floor with your feet, you feel tired, not in your body, but in your heart. And you ask yourself, why does everything feel so deep for me? You look around and you see people laughing easily, forgetting easily, moving on quickly. And you think, why do things stay with me? Why does a moment live inside me for days? Why does a word echo in my mind for nights? Why does a memory sit in my chest like it has found a home there? And slowly, without meaning to, you start thinking something is wrong with you. You start thinking you are too sensitive, too emotional, too serious, too much. But what if you are not too much? What if you were simply made to carry more? There are hands that are made to hold light things, and there are hands that are made to carry weight. Allah does not give heavy loads to weak arms. He gives them to arms He knows will not drop what they are holding. So when your life feels heavy, it is not a sign of punishment. It is a sign of trust. It is a sign that Allah saw something strong inside you, even when you could not see it yourself. There are paths in this world that are smooth and straight. You walk them and everything feels simple. You know where you are going. You know what comes next. And then there are paths that twist, paths that climb, paths that disappear in the fog. And when you stand on those paths, you feel unsure. You feel tired. You feel alone. But those paths often lead to higher places. Places where the air is thinner. Places where the view is wider. Places where fewer people can stand. And Allah does not send everyone there. He only sends the hearts that can handle the climb. Sometimes you wish your life was easier. You whisper it in your heart. You say, Ya Allah, why is everything so hard for me? And you feel guilty for even thinking it. But Allah knows. He knows how heavy your days feel. He knows how long your nights are. He knows how many times you have sat alone with your thoughts, trying to make sense of everything. And He does not look at you with anger. He looks at you with care. Because He knows why you are walking this path. There are people who go through pain and become hard. They close their hearts. They stop caring. They stop feeling. But there are also people who go through pain and become soft. They become kind. They become gentle. They become understanding. If you are still soft after everything you have been through, that is not weakness. That is strength that has been refined. That is a heart that chose light instead of darkness. And Allah loves hearts like that. There are moments when you feel like sitting down and not getting back up. Not because you are lazy, but because you are tired of being strong, tired of being patient. Tired of being the one who understands. Tired of being the one who forgives. Tired of being the one who holds everything together. And in those moments you sit quietly and think, I wish someone would carry me for once. But even in that tiredness, you still get up. You still move. You still try. And you don't even realize how powerful that is. You may think you are just surviving, but in the unseen, Allah sees you as someone who is standing under weight and not falling. There is a kind of strength that does not look like lifting something heavy with your hands. It looks like waking up when your heart feels broken and still choosing to be kind to people. It looks like being disappointed and still choosing to hope. It looks like being hurt and still choosing not to hurt others back. This kind of strength does not make noise. It does not announce itself. It lives quietly in the chest and it grows in silence. Sometimes you look at your life and you feel behind. You see others reaching milestones, getting what they prayed for, living the life you thought you would have by now. And you wonder, did Allah forget me? But Allah does not forget. He designs, He measures, He plants. Some lives are like quick rain. They fall fast and disappear. And some lives are like deep rivers. They move slowly, but they carve mountains. If your life feels slow, it may be because it is meant to shape something big. You carry questions in your heart that you don't say out loud. You ask, why me? Why this? Why now? And you wait for answers that don't come in words. But sometimes Allah answers with shaping instead of speaking. He answers by turning you into someone who can handle the answers when they finally arrive. There are nights when you lie in bed and stare at the ceiling. Your phone is silent, the world feels far away, and it is just you and your thoughts. And in that quiet, everything you've been carrying rises to the surface. The disappointments, the hopes, the things you lost, the things you're still waiting for, and your chest feels tight, your breath feels slow, and you whisper a prayer that is not even full words, just a feeling, just a Ya Allah, you know. And that is enough, because Allah does know. He knows what you are carrying. He knows how long you have been carrying it. He knows how many times you smiled when you wanted to cry. He knows how many times you stayed quiet when you wanted to speak. He knows how many times you kept going when you wanted to stop. And He does not see that as ordinary. He sees it as someone walking a path that was written for strong hearts. Sometimes you feel like no one truly understands you. You can be in a room full of people and still feel alone. You can talk and still feel unheard. You can laugh and still feel empty. And you start thinking, maybe I don't belong anywhere. But what if you don't belong in small circles because Allah is preparing you for a wider one? What if you feel out of place because you were not meant to stay in the same place for long? Some souls are made to settle, and some souls are made to move, to grow, to reach, to change. And the ones who are made to move often feel restless before they feel ready. You may not see it now, but the weight you are carrying is shaping you. It is shaping how you listen, how you speak, how you look at people, how you respond to pain. One day, someone will sit in front of you with a heavy heart and they will think no one understands them. And without even trying, you will make them feel seen. Because you once felt the same weight. You once walked the same quiet road, and Allah turned that into something beautiful inside you. So when you feel tired of being strong, remember this: you are not strong because you chose to be. You are strong because Allah saw that you could be, and He trusted you with a path that needs a heart that does not give up easily. A heart that can feel deeply and still love. A heart that can hurt and still forgive. A heart that can wait and still hope. And even if no one else sees how heavy it feels, Allah says, and He is gentle with you even in the moments you are not gentle with yourself. There are moments when you look at your own reflection and barely recognize the person staring back, not because your face has changed, but because your heart has. You remember a time when you were lighter, when you laughed more easily, when you trusted more quickly, when you believed things would always turn out fine. And now you feel older inside, even if the years have not passed. You feel like life has taught you lessons you did not ask for. You feel like your heart carries stories you never planned to live. And sometimes you sit with that and think, I wish I could go back to who I was before all of this. But that version of you was never meant to stay. That version of you was gentle clay. And what you are becoming is shaped stone. Stone that can stand in storms. Stone that can hold weight. Stone that can become a place of rest for others. You may miss who you used to be, but Allah is carefully forming who you need to become. There is a kind of loneliness that comes when you grow beyond the place you are standing in. It is not the loneliness of having no one. It is the loneliness of feeling like no one fully understands what is happening inside you. You can sit with people, you can talk, you can smile, but inside you feel like you are walking a different road. And that can hurt, because humans are made to connect. We want to be seen. We want to be understood. We want someone to say, I know exactly how you feel. But sometimes Allah allows you to walk alone for a while so that you learn how to walk with Him, so that your heart stops leaning on people for its deepest peace and starts leaning on the one who never leaves. There are nights when you feel the silence pressing against your chest. The world is asleep, the noise is gone, and it is just you, your thoughts, and Allah. And in those moments, everything you hide during the day comes out. The fears, the doubts, the hopes you pretend you don't have anymore, the dreams you tell yourself you've let go of. And you talk to Allah in a way you don't talk to anyone else. Not with perfect words, not with long sentences, but with feelings, with tears, with quiet breaths, with a heart that says, Ya Allah, you know. And that connection, that is something many people never experience because they are never alone long enough to find it. Sometimes you feel like you are always the one giving. You listen to others, you support others, you understand others. And when it is your turn to be tired, there is no one there to hold you the same way. And that can make your chest feel heavy. It can make you feel invisible. It can make you feel like you don't matter as much as everyone else. But what if Allah made you the kind of person who pours because He Himself is the one who fills you back up? What if your source was never meant to be people? What if your source was always meant to be Him? So when the world cannot carry you, you learn how to lean on the one who carries the world. There are times when you look at your past and feel regret. You think about the things you said, the choices you made, the roads you took, the moments you wish you could change. And you feel a quiet shame in your heart. You wonder if Allah still sees you the same way. If He still cares about you the same way. If He still has something good written for someone who made so many mistakes. But Allah does not build strong hearts from perfect stories. He builds them from real ones, from broken moments, from wrong turns, from tears that taught humility, from falls that taught surrender. Your past is not something Allah is ashamed of. It is something He used. It is something He allowed so that you could become someone who understands mercy, forgiveness, and second chances. There will be days when you feel like your prayers are not going anywhere. You raise your hands, you whisper your hopes, you ask for relief, and nothing seems to change. The same problems are there the next morning. The same weight is there in your chest. And you start thinking, is Allah even listening? But sometimes the answer to a prayer is not a change in your situation. It is a change in you. It is a calm that enters your heart while the storm is still outside. It is a strength that grows in you while the problem remains. It is a patience you didn't know you had until you needed it. Allah may not always remove the mountain in front of you, but He will always grow your legs to climb it. You may not notice it day by day, but one day you will look back and realize, I am not the same person who started this journey. You will realize you speak differently, you react differently, you see people differently, you see yourself differently. The things that once broke you now only bend you. The things that once made you angry now make you quiet and thoughtful. The things that once made you run now make you sit and reflect. And that is growth. Slow, quiet, deep growth. Sometimes you feel like you are invisible, like your efforts go unnoticed, like no one sees how hard you are trying. You help, you care, you show up, and the world just keeps moving. No applause, no recognition, no moment where someone says, I see you. But Allah sees you. He sees the intentions behind what you do. He sees the battles you fight inside your heart before you show kindness on the outside. He sees the patience it takes for you to stay gentle in a world that is often rough. And what Allah sees, He does not forget. Nothing you do for His sake is ever lost. There are times when you wish someone would come and save you. Someone would understand everything without you having to explain. Someone would step in and make things lighter, and it is human to feel that way. But sometimes Allah does not send someone to save you. He teaches you how to stand, how to breathe through the weight, how to find peace in the middle of uncertainty, so that when someone does finally walk into your life, they don't meet a broken heart looking for rescue. They meet a strong heart ready to walk alongside them. One day, all the waiting will make sense. All the quiet will make sense. All the moments you felt left behind will make sense. You will see how every closed door guided your steps, how every loss redirected your path, how every tear softened your heart instead of hardening it. And you will realize that Allah was not just taking you somewhere, He was turning you into someone. So tonight, if you feel tired inside, if your chest feels heavy, if your heart feels full of things you can't name, sit with Allah for a moment. You don't need long words. You don't need perfect prayers. Just be honest. Just be present. Just let your heart rest in His care. Because the path you are walking, the one that feels too heavy, too slow, too lonely at times, it was not written for weak hearts. It was written for a heart Allah saw something special in. And even when you don't feel strong, even when you feel like you are barely holding on, you are still walking. And that, in the eyes of Allah, is already something beautiful. Your soul was never designed to live where it cannot grow. There are places in life where your body can sit, but your heart cannot rest. You walk into a room, you sit among people, you listen to the words being spoken, you watch the smiles, the laughter, the small talk moving around you. And yet, inside, something feels tight. Not angry, not loud, just uncomfortable. Like your soul is standing instead of sitting. Like your heart is quietly asking, why do I feel out of place here? At first, you think it is just your mood. You think maybe you are tired. Maybe you are overthinking. Maybe you are being too sensitive again. So you try to ignore it. You try to stay. You try to fit in. You try to tell your heart to calm down. But the feeling doesn't leave. It follows you home. It sits with you in silence. It returns the next time you step back into the same space. And slowly you begin to realize something. This is not a passing feeling. This is a message. There are seasons when Allah allows your soul to become uncomfortable in places where it once felt fine. Not because those places became bad, but because you have changed. Your heart has grown. Your awareness has widened. Your spirit has become more sensitive to what feeds it and what drains it. And once your soul grows, it cannot pretend to be small again. You may remember a time when you enjoyed things that now leave you empty. Conversations that once excited you now feel shallow. Goals that once drove you now feel quiet inside. You look at your past self and think, I was happy there. Why am I not happy there anymore? But happiness and growth are not always found in the same place. Sometimes the place that once comforted you becomes the place that limits you. And Allah does not let a growing soul stay in a shrinking world. There is a kind of pain that comes from staying where you no longer belong. It is not a sharp pain. It is a slow one, a quiet one. It feels like waking up every day and forcing yourself to be someone you are no longer becoming. You smile, but the smile feels thin. You speak, but the words feel empty. You show up, but your heart feels like it stayed somewhere else. And that is exhausting. More exhausting than walking away. But walking away is scary because what you know, even if it is small, feels safer than what you don't. So you stay. You tell yourself it's fine. You tell yourself you're grateful. You tell yourself others have it worse. But your soul keeps whispering, softly, gently, this is not where you grow. Allah often speaks through feelings we try to silence. Through discomfort we try to explain away. Through restlessness we try to distract ourselves from. When your soul feels tight, it is often because it is outgrowing its surroundings. Just like a child who grows taller and suddenly their clothes no longer fit. Nothing is wrong with the clothes. The child simply grew. In the same way, nothing may be wrong with the people, the place, or the life around you. But your soul has grown beyond it, and that growth creates pressure. Sometimes you look at others in the same place and wonder why they seem comfortable. Why they laugh easily, why they don't feel what you feel. And you think, why am I like this? But every soul has a different size, a different hunger, a different calling. Some hearts are built to stay. Some hearts are built to move. Some hearts are built to build something new. And if yours is a heart that is built to grow, it will never find peace in staying still for too long. There are moments when you feel guilty for wanting more meaning, more depth, more purpose. You tell yourself, I should be thankful for what I have. And you are thankful. but you are also hungry inside. Not for things, not for status, not for attention, but for something that feels real, something that feels alive, something that feels like your soul can breathe there. And that hunger is not greed, it is guidance. Allah places that hunger in certain hearts to lead them toward what they were created for. If every soul was satisfied with the same life, the world would never change. Sometimes Allah makes your heart uncomfortable because He is inviting you to grow into a different version of yourself. A version that cannot be born in the same environment that raised the old one. There is a fear that comes with growth, because growth means leaving behind familiar places, familiar roles, familiar versions of yourself. It means disappointing people who liked you the way you were. It means stepping into spaces where you don't know the rules yet, where you don't know who you will become. And that is terrifying. So you hold on to what you know, even if it no longer feeds you, even if it quietly drains you. But Allah is gentle. He does not always push you out all at once. Sometimes He simply makes you uncomfortable enough that you start to move on your own. A conversation that suddenly feels empty, a routine that suddenly feels heavy, a dream that suddenly feels too small, a place that suddenly feels tight in your chest. And one day you sit alone and realize, I can't stay here anymore. Not because you hate it, but because you have outgrown it. There is a sadness in outgrowing a place, a person, a season. You remember the comfort it once gave you, the safety, the memories, the version of yourself that lived there. And you mourn it because growth always comes with a small goodbye. Even when the goodbye is necessary, you may wish you could stay the same and still become more. But life doesn't work that way. To become more, something old must be left behind. And Allah in His wisdom knows exactly what you need to carry forward and what you need to put down. Sometimes you feel like you are standing between two worlds, the one you came from and the one you don't fully see yet. And that in-between place feels lonely. You don't fully belong to the old anymore. And you haven't arrived in the new. So you float, you wait, you wonder. But this space is not empty. It is a bridge. It is where Allah teaches you how to walk without holding on to what used to hold you. It is where your faith becomes something you lean on, not just something you talk about. There are days when you try to go back. You step into old spaces. You talk to old people. You return to old habits. And for a moment it feels familiar, comforting. But soon the tightness returns, the restlessness returns, and you realize, I don't fit here the way I used to. And that can hurt, because it feels like losing a part of yourself. But in reality, you are meeting a new part of yourself, one that cannot live in the same small rooms anymore. Allah does not grow your soul by accident. He grows it for a reason, for a role, for a moment, for a purpose that needs a heart that has seen more, felt more, and understands more. You may not know what that purpose is yet, but you can feel the preparation, you can feel the stirring, you can feel the quiet pull towards something beyond what you know. So when you feel out of place, do not rush to judge yourself. Do not rush to label it as sadness or weakness. Sit with it. Ask Allah about it. Say, Ya Allah, what are you teaching me here? Because often the feeling of not belonging is the first sign that you are being invited somewhere new. There are moments when you try to explain how you feel, but the words don't come out right. You say, I'm fine. You say, I'm just tired. You say, it's nothing. But inside, you know it is something. It is a deep feeling that your heart no longer feels at home where your life is standing. You go through your day and everything looks the same streets, the same faces, the same routines, the same conversations, but you are not the same. Something inside you has shifted. And when the inside changes, the outside can start to feel strange. Sometimes you feel like you are watching your own life from a small distance. Like you are present, but not fully there. Like your body is living one life and your soul is quietly searching for another. And that can make you feel lost. But being lost is not always a bad thing. Sometimes being lost means you are no longer walking in a circle. Sometimes it means you have stepped off a path that was familiar but limited. There are nights when you sit alone and think about the future, not in big clear pictures, but in feelings. You feel that what is coming is different from what is now. You don't know how. You don't know when. You don't even know what it looks like. But you know it is not this. And that knowing can make you restless because the heart wants to arrive before the life is ready to move. So you wait, and waiting can feel like standing still while the world keeps walking past you. You see others settling into their places, finding their routines, finding their circles, finding their comfort, and you feel like you are still in between, not settled, not arrived, just becoming. And becoming is uncomfortable because it means you don't fully recognize yourself yet. There are times when you miss the simplicity of who you used to be, when you didn't question everything, when you didn't feel everything so deeply, when you didn't notice every small change in people, in rooms, in energy. You think life was easier when I didn't feel like this. But life was also smaller then. You could fit in places that now feel too tight. You could accept things that now feel heavy on your heart. And even though this new awareness makes life harder, it also makes it more real. There is a quiet courage in admitting that you have outgrown something, outgrown a place, outgrown a role, outgrown a version of yourself. Because outgrowing means you are alive. It means your soul is moving. It means you are not just passing time. You are becoming someone. Sometimes you stay longer than you should because you don't want to hurt anyone. You don't want to disappoint. You don't want to be the one who changes when everyone else stays the same. So you shrink yourself a little. You quiet your thoughts. You hide your questions. You soften your dreams. You make yourself fit. And slowly you start to feel tired in a way that rest cannot fix. Because the soul gets tired when it pretends to be smaller than it truly is. Allah did not place growth inside you so you could hide it. He placed it inside you so it could guide you. And when you ignore that guidance, your heart begins to feel heavy. Not as a punishment, but as a reminder. There is a gentle way Allah leads you forward. He doesn't always push. Sometimes He simply lets the old place stop feeding you. The joy fades. The excitement fades. The meaning fades, and you find yourself asking, why doesn't this make me happy anymore? And that question is often the first step towards something new. There are moments when you stand on the edge of change. You can feel it. Something needs to shift, but you don't know how to take the first step. So you stand there thinking, praying, hoping Allah will make it clear. And sometimes clarity doesn't come as a loud answer. It comes as a quiet peace with the idea of leaving. A soft feeling that says it's okay to move on. It's okay to grow. It's okay to become someone new. There is a grief that comes with that. A small sadness for the life you are not going to live. For the version of you that will not exist anymore. For the place that once felt like home. And it is okay to feel that. Allah does not rush your goodbyes. He allows you to feel them. Because even necessary endings deserve gentleness. There will be times when people don't understand your change. They will say, you're different now. They will say, you used to be so easy. They will say, why can't you just be like before? And you will feel a small ache in your heart because you don't want to hurt them. You don't want to seem ungrateful, but you also cannot go back to who you were because Allah has already started writing the next part of your story, and you cannot live a new chapter while holding on to the old one. There is a quiet strength in choosing growth even when it makes you lonely, even when it makes you misunderstood, even when it makes you feel like you are walking alone. But remember this, you are never truly walking alone. Every step you take away from what no longer feeds your soul, Allah is walking with you toward what will. Sometimes you don't see the destination, you just feel the pull. And that pull is enough. It is guidance in a soft form, a hand you cannot see but can feel in your heart. One day, you will stand in a place that feels right, not perfect, not easy, but right. A place where your heart can breathe, where your soul can stretch, where you don't have to make yourself smaller to belong. And in that moment, you will look back at this season, the confusion, the restlessness, the quiet discomfort, and you will understand this was the season that taught you how to listen to your soul, how to trust the gentle signs Allah placed inside you, how to move forward without needing the whole map. So if tonight you feel like you don't fit where you are, if your heart feels too big for the room you're in, If your soul feels like it is quietly knocking on a door you can't yet see, don't be afraid. This is not a sign that you are broken. This is a sign that you are growing. And Allah only grows what He plans to use. What disappeared was silently competing with what you were meant to become. There are moments in life when something leaves and the space it leaves behind feels louder than the thing itself ever was. A person goes quiet, a plan falls apart. A door you were sure would open suddenly stays shut. And you stand there looking at the empty space asking, why did this have to go? At first, all you can feel is the loss, the absence, the silence where something used to live. You replay the memories in your mind. You go back to the beginning. You remember the excitement, the hope, the way you once believed, this is it. This is what my life is supposed to look like. And now that picture is gone. So you sit with the pieces and you try to understand what you did wrong. You try to find the mistake. You try to find the moment where everything changed. But sometimes what left your life did not leave because of something you did. Sometimes it left because it could not walk with the person you were becoming. There are things that come into our lives as gifts. They bring joy. They bring comfort. They bring meaning. But not every gift is meant to stay forever. Some are meant to walk with us only for a season. And when the season ends, holding on turns into pain. You may not notice it at first, but slowly, quietly, something that once felt like a blessing begins to take more from you than it gives. It takes your peace. It takes your focus. It takes your calm. It takes the space in your heart where Allah should be the loudest. You begin to wake up thinking about it. You go to sleep worrying about it. You measure your worth by it. Your mood rises and falls with it. And without realizing it, something created for your life begins to take control of your life. Not because it is evil, but because your heart leaned on it more than it leaned on Allah. So Allah in His mercy steps in, and His mercy does not always feel gentle. Sometimes it feels like loss. It feels like being pulled away. It feels like something being taken from your hands when you were not ready to let go. But what if Allah saw something you could not see? What if He saw that what you were holding on to was quietly standing in the place He wanted to stand in your heart? There are attachments that grow so slowly you don't even notice them. They don't arrive loudly. They arrive softly. They sit in your life and make themselves comfortable. And one day you realize your heart feels restless when they are not there. Your peace feels incomplete. Your joy feels dependent. And that is when Allah gently reminds you where your true source was always meant to be. There is a deep pain in losing something you loved, not just because it is gone, but because of what it represented, the future you imagined with it, the version of yourself you saw through it, the life you thought you were building around it. When it disappears, it feels like all of that disappears too. And you sit there holding a future that no longer exists. That kind of pain is quiet. It doesn't always show on your face, but it sits in your chest. It follows you into your prayers. It sits beside you in your silence. You may even talk to Allah and say, Ya Allah, I don't understand why you took this from me. It felt good, it felt right, it felt like it was helping me. And Allah knows how it felt to you, but He also knows where it was leading you. Sometimes what feels good in the moment leads the heart away from what is good in the long run. And Allah cares more about who you become than what you keep. There are times when you try to go back, you reach out, you reopen doors, you replay old patterns. You step into the same place that once held you, and for a moment it feels familiar, comforting, like slipping into old clothes. But soon you feel the tightness again, the heaviness, the quiet discomfort, and you realize this doesn't fit me the way it used to. And that realization hurts, because it means not only did something leave, you changed, and change can be harder to accept than loss. There is a part of you that wants to hold on to who you were when that thing was in your life, because that version of you felt safer, felt simpler, felt more certain. But Allah is not interested in keeping you safe in smallness. He is interested in growing you into strength, into clarity, into someone who can walk without needing to hold on to something for balance. Sometimes Allah removes something because it is competing with your time, your focus, your attention, your heart, you may not see it as competition. You may see it as love, as comfort, as support. But Allah sees how much space it is taking inside you. And He knows that what He has planned for you needs that space. So He clears it, not to hurt you, but to make room. There is a kind of silence that comes after something leaves. It is not peaceful at first. It feels empty. It feels cold. You feel like you don't know what to do with yourself. Your routines change. Your days feel different. Your nights feel longer. And in that quiet, you finally hear something you couldn't hear before. Your own heart, your own prayers, your own thoughts, your own connection with Allah. Sometimes what left was so loud in your life that it drowned out everything else. And when it goes, the silence feels uncomfortable. But that silence is where Allah begins to speak, not with words, but with clarity, with understanding, with a gentle sense of direction that you didn't have when your heart was full of something else. There are people who go through loss and become bitter. They close their hearts. They build walls. They decide they will never care again. But there are also people who go through loss and become open. They become deeper. They become more aware. They become more connected to Allah. And if you find yourself turning toward Allah after something leaves, that is not a coincidence. That is the purpose. Sometimes you don't realize how much something was shaping you until it is gone. How much it influenced your choices, your mood, your direction, your identity. And when it disappears, you feel like you don't know who you are anymore. And that can be scary, but it can also be freeing, because now you get to meet the part of you that exists without it. The part of you that stands on faith instead of attachment, on trust instead of control, on Allah instead of what Allah created. There is a gentle kind of rebuilding that happens after loss. You don't notice it at first. You think you are just trying to survive, just trying to get through the days. But slowly, quietly, your heart begins to rearrange itself. You begin to find peace in different places. You begin to care about different things. You begin to see the world differently. And one day you realize, I am not the same person I was before this left. And that is not a failure. That is growth. There will be moments when you still miss what is gone. That doesn't mean you are going backward. It means you are human. It means you cared. It means it mattered to you. But missing something does not mean you were meant to keep it forever. Some things are meant to touch your life, not stay in it. Sometimes you will look back and finally see what you couldn't see before. How that thing, that person, that plan was slowly pulling you away from what truly mattered to you, from your peace, from your faith, from your sense of purpose. And you will realize that Allah did not take it away to leave you empty. He took it away to return you to yourself, to return you to Him. So if tonight you are sitting with an empty space in your heart, if you are missing something that once felt like it meant everything, don't rush to fill that space with something else. Sit with it. Let it breathe. Let Allah fill it instead. Because sometimes what disappeared from your life was not meant to stay. It was meant to move so you could move. It was meant to leave so you could become. There are days when you catch yourself reaching for what is no longer there. A message you used to send, a place you used to go, a habit you used to lean on. And for a brief second, your heart forgets that it has already been released. And when you remember, there is a small ache, a soft reminder that something in your life has changed. You may feel that ache and think, why does this still hurt if it was meant to go? But healing does not mean forgetting. Healing means learning how to walk forward while still carrying the memory gently. There is a difference between holding something in your hands and holding it in your heart. Allah may take something out of your hands quickly, but He allows it to leave your heart slowly, because the heart needs time to understand what the mind already knows. Sometimes you find yourself asking Allah for the same thing again. You say, Ya Allah, bring it back, fix it, restore it. And you wait for a sign. You look for an opening. You hope for a moment where everything returns to how it was. But what if Allah is not closing a door to be cruel? What if He is closing it because what is on the other side of that door no longer matches who you are becoming? There are rooms in life that feel warm because of who you were when you first entered them. But as you grow, those same rooms can begin to feel dark. Not because the light changed, but because you did. Sometimes Allah knows that if He leaves a door open, you will keep walking back into a place that no longer feeds your soul. So He closes it, not to trap you, but to guide you forward. There is a kind of courage that comes from accepting that something is truly over, not just paused, not just distant, but finished. And that courage does not arrive all at once. It comes in small moments. The first day you don't check. The first night you don't replay. The first prayer where you don't ask for it back. And in those moments, something inside you begins to shift. You begin to realize that your life is still moving, that your heart is still beating, that your soul is still growing, even without what you thought you could not live without. There are times when you feel like the loss took a part of you with it, like you are not whole anymore, like something inside you is missing. But what if that feeling is not because something was taken, but because something new is being made? When a builder breaks a wall, the room feels empty, duste, cold, unfinished. But the breaking is not the end. It is the beginning of a bigger space. Allah does not tear down parts of your life without a reason. He clears space for what cannot fit in the old structure. There are people who come into your life and teach you what love feels like. And there are people who leave your life and teach you what strength feels like. Both are lessons. Both are gifts. Even though one feels much heavier than the other, you may not see it now, but the space that feels empty today may become the place where something more meaningful grows tomorrow. Sometimes, after something leaves, you feel a strange quiet inside you. Not just sadness, but stillness. A pause. Like life is taking a breath. And in that stillness, you begin to notice things you were too busy to see before. Your own thoughts, your own dreams, your own connection with Allah. You begin to realize how much of your energy was tied to what is now gone. How much of your attention was placed outside instead of within. And in that realization, there is a soft return to yourself. There are nights when you sit with Allah and speak honestly. You say, Ya Allah, I am tired of losing. I am tired of letting go. I am tired of things leaving. And Allah hears that. He hears the tiredness in your voice, the weight in your heart. And even if your situation does not change right away, something inside you begins to feel held, not fixed, but held. And sometimes being held is what allows you to keep going. There is a gentle lesson in realizing that not everything that feels like it belongs in your life is meant to stay in your life. Some things belong to a chapter, not the whole story. And when that chapter ends, you may want to keep rereading it. But life does not move forward by rereading old pages. It moves forward by turning them. There will be moments when you look back and feel grateful for what left. Not because it didn't matter, but because you can finally see what it was costing you. Your peace, your time, your closeness to Allah, your ability to hear your own heart. And in that gratitude, you will find a soft kind of freedom. Freedom from needing what you once depended on. Freedom from building your joy around something that could leave. Freedom to build your life around the one who never does. You may notice that after something disappears, your prayers change. They become simpler. Less about asking for things, more about asking for strength, for guidance, for calm, for closeness to Allah. And that change in prayer is not small. It is a sign that your heart is learning where its true home is. There will be days when the memory still visits you. A song, a plus, a smell, a moment that brings it back. And you feel a small ache again. But now, the ache is softer. It does not knock you down. It passes through you like a wave. And you stand after it. And in that standing, you realize how far you have come. You realize that what once broke you now only bends you. And that is growth. Quiet, deep, real growth. So if you are in a season where something has disappeared from your life and you are still trying to understand why, give yourself time. Give your heart patience. Give Allah your trust. Because sometimes what leaves is not a loss. It is a release. A release from something that was holding you in a smaller version of yourself. A release into a life where your heart has more room to breathe, more room to grow, more room to belong to Allah. And one day when you look back, you may whisper quietly, thank you, Ya Allah, for removing what I was too afraid to let go of myself. The silence around you is Allah clearing the noise of the world from your destiny. There are seasons in life when the world becomes quieter around you. Not because the world has stopped, but because the people, the noise, the messages, the invitations and the distractions slowly fade into the background. Your phone feels lighter. Your days feel longer. Your nights feel deeper. And you sit in that quiet and wonder, why does everything feel so still? At first, the silence feels uncomfortable. You reach for something to fill it, a screen, a voice, a sound, anything that can remind you that you are not alone. Because humans are not made for emptiness. We are made for connection. So when the noise of the world steps back, it can feel like something is missing. But sometimes what feels like something missing is actually something being removed. There is a difference between silence and emptiness. Emptiness feels cold. Silence feels open. And Allah often works in the open space. There are moments when you realize that fewer people are calling your name. Fewer messages are coming in. Fewer plans are being made around you. And a small voice inside you starts to whisper, did I do something wrong? Did I become less important? Did I change in a way that pushed people away? But not every distance is a rejection. Some distances are protection. Some distances are preparation. Some distances are the space Allah creates so that your heart can finally hear something other than the world. The world is loud. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone has a plan for your life. Everyone tells you what success should look like, what happiness should be, what you should chase, what you should avoid. And when you live in that noise for too long, it becomes hard to hear your own soul. Hard to hear your own prayers. Hard to hear the quiet guidance Allah places inside your heart. So sometimes Allah gently turns the volume down. He doesn't always do it suddenly. He doesn't always do it in a way you notice right away. He lets conversations fade. He lets connections grow quiet. He lets routines fall apart. And one day you wake up and realize you are standing in a quieter place than you used to be. There is a loneliness that can come with that, a soft ache in the chest, a feeling of being left behind, of being forgotten. And that ache can make you want to run back into the noise, back into crowds, back into distractions, back into anything that can make you feel seen again. But what if Allah is not pulling you away to make you feel invisible? What if He is pulling you away so you can finally see who you are without the world's voice in your ear? See what you truly want when no one else is telling you what to want. See what you believe when no one else is shaping your thoughts. Silence has a way of showing you yourself. And sometimes that is why it feels uncomfortable. Because in the quiet, there is no one else to hide behind, no role to play, no audience to perform for. It is just you and your heart. And Allah, there are nights when you sit alone and feel the stillness around you like a blanket. You can hear your own breathing. You can hear the small sounds of the world outside. A car passing, the wind moving, the clock ticking. And in that quiet, your thoughts grow louder. The things you push away during the day come back. The worries, the regrets, the hopes you pretend you don't have anymore. The dreams you told yourself to forget. And you think, why does this all come back when everything is quiet? But that is the gift of silence. It does not let you escape yourself. It brings you face to face with what lives inside you. And when Allah brings you face to face with your own heart, it is often because He wants to heal something there. There are times when you look at your life and feel like it has become smaller. Fewer people, fewer places, fewer plans. And you think, I used to be everywhere. I used to be busy. I used to be needed. And now you feel like you are standing still. But what if you are not standing still? What if you are standing in a sacred space? A space where Allah is working quietly away from the eyes of the world. Some of the most important things in life do not happen in front of crowds. Seeds grow under the soil, not under the sun. Strength is built in private, not on a stage. And hearts are shaped in silence, not in noise. You may not feel productive in this season. You may not feel important. You may not feel seen, but you may be becoming something. There is a kind of peace that can only enter your heart when the noise leaves. Not a loud peace, a soft one. A peace that does not depend on how many people are around you. A peace that does not rise and fall with attention. A peace that sits quietly even when nothing is happening. And that kind of peace is rare because most people never stay in the silence long enough to find it. Sometimes you wonder why certain people drift away, why friendships grow quiet, why connections change, and you replay moments in your mind looking for the reason. But not every drifting is about something you did. Sometimes it is about something you are becoming. As your heart changes, your world often changes with it. Not everyone can walk into the quieter, deeper spaces Allah is inviting you into. Some people are comfortable in noise, in movement, in surface level connection. And when you begin to value depth, stillness and meaning, the distance can grow. That distance can hurt because humans want to share their lives. They want to walk with others. They want to feel understood. But sometimes Allah asks you to walk alone for a while, not forever, just for a season, so that you learn how to walk with Him. There is a difference between being alone and being accompanied by Allah. Being alone feels empty. Being with Allah feels full, even in silence. You may not feel it right away. At first, the silence feels heavy, like something is missing. But slowly, if you stay with it, something begins to fill that space. A calm, a clarity, a sense that you are not as lost as you thought you were. You begin to notice small things. The way your heart feels during prayer. The way certain words in the Quran touch you differently now. The way you speak to Allah more honestly when no one else is listening. And you realize that this quiet season is teaching you how to connect in a deeper way. There are moments when you think, I wish things were like before. When life was louder, busier, fuller. But sometimes louder does not mean better. Fuller does not mean deeper. And busier does not mean more meaningful. Allah is not always interested in giving you a life that looks full. Sometimes He gives you a life that feels clear. Clear of distractions, clear of noise, clear of things that pull your heart in too many directions. So that your focus can return to what truly matters. You may feel like you are losing your place in the world. But what if you are finding your place with Allah? What if this silence is not taking something away from you, but giving something back to you, giving you back your time, your attention, your heart, your prayers, your awareness of His presence? There is a gentleness in the way Allah leads you into quiet. He does not force you. He invites you through fewer messages, through empty evenings, through quiet mornings, through moments where you realize you have more space inside you than you used to. And in that space, you begin to hear things you couldn't hear before. Your own needs, your own limits, your own longings. And slowly, Allah's guidance. It may not come as a clear voice. It may come as a feeling, a sense of what feels right, a calm about what feels wrong, a pull towards something you cannot fully explain. And that is often how Allah speaks to the heart, not in thunder, but in stillness. So if tonight you are sitting in a quiet room, if your phone is silent, if the world feels far away, if your heart feels both heavy and open at the same time, don't rush to fill that space. Sit with it, breathe in it, let it be what it is. Because sometimes the silence around you is not loneliness. It is Allah making room for something new to grow inside you. You were pulled away so you would not be shaped by smaller lives. There are moments in life when you look back and realize you are no longer standing where you once were. Not just in distance, but in who you are. You remember a time when you felt comfortable in places that now feel tight. You remember conversations that once excited you but now feel small. You remember dreams you once chased that now feel quiet inside you. And you wonder, what changed? At first, you think it is the world. You think people changed. You think places changed. You think life became different. But slowly, gently, you begin to understand something. You changed, your heart grew, your awareness widened, your soul began to look for more than what it used to settle for. And when that happens, Allah often begins to move you, not always by giving you a clear map, sometimes by gently pulling you away. You may not even notice it at first. A friendship grows distant, a place stops feeling like home, a routine that once felt safe now feels empty, and you try to go back. You try to sit where you used to sit. Laugh at what you used to laugh at. Care about what you used to care about. But something inside you refuses. Not loudly, not angrily, just quietly. Like your heart is saying, this is not where I grow anymore. There is a strange sadness in realizing that you have outgrown a part of your life, because even if that part was small, it was still yours. It held memories, it held comfort, it held a version of you that felt simpler. And letting go of that can feel like losing a piece of yourself. But sometimes Allah pulls you away not because the place was bad, but because it was too small for who you were becoming. There are people who live their whole lives in the same circle, the same ideas, the same conversations, the same fears, and they are content. But there are also hearts that cannot stay there. Hearts that begin to ask deeper questions. Hearts that begin to feel a hunger for meaning, not just motion. Hearts that begin to look beyond what is easy and toward what is true. And when Allah places that hunger inside you, the old spaces begin to feel narrow. You may feel like you are leaving people behind, and that thought can hurt. You may feel guilty for wanting more, for wanting something different, for not being satisfied with what once satisfied you. But wanting to grow is not betrayal. It is not ungratefulness. It is life moving forward inside you. There are moments when you try to shrink yourself back. You tell yourself, I should just be normal. I should stop thinking so much. I should stop feeling so deeply. I should just fit in. So you quiet your questions. You soften your dreams. You make yourself smaller so you can stay. And for a while it works. You feel less alone. You feel more accepted. But inside, something begins to fade. A light, a fire, a sense of direction. And you feel tired in a way that rest cannot fix. Because the soul gets tired when it is not allowed to be what it was created to be. Allah did not pull you away to make you lonely. He pulled you away to keep you from becoming limited. We are shaped by what we stay around, by what we listen to, by what we accept as normal, by what we see every day. And if your world is small, your vision often becomes small too. You begin to think only about survival, not purpose, about comfort, not calling, about fitting in, not standing firm. So sometimes Allah removes you from that world, not to punish you, but to protect the part of you that is meant to rise. There are times when you sit alone and feel the distance from others. You feel like no one truly understands what you are becoming. You feel like you are walking in a direction no one else can see. And that can feel isolating because humans want to be seen. They want to be understood. They want someone to walk beside them and say, I feel this too. But sometimes Allah asks you to walk ahead for a while, so that one day you can turn back and guide others who are just starting their journey. There is a quiet strength in being willing to be different, in being willing to stand in a place that feels unfamiliar, in being willing to let go of what once made you feel safe. Not because you are brave by nature, but because something inside you knows that staying would cost you more than leaving. Sometimes you notice that your values begin to change. What once felt important now feels light. What once felt heavy now feels small. You begin to care less about being liked and more about being honest. Less about being seen and more about being true. And when that shift happens, not everyone will be comfortable around you anymore. Because growth can be confronting, not just to you, but to others who are still standing where you used to stand. You may find that some people misunderstand your quiet, your distance, your change. They may think you are proud or cold or distant, but they do not see the inside of you. They do not see the wrestling, the praying, the questioning, the becoming. They only see the space you left behind, and that is okay. Not everyone is meant to understand every part of your journey. Sometimes you feel like you are standing between two versions of yourself, the one you were and the one you are becoming. And that space feels uncertain. You don't fully belong to the past anymore. And you haven't fully arrived in the future. So you float, you wait, you wonder, and in that waiting, you learn something important. You learn how to stand without leaning on what you used to be. You learn how to trust Allah without seeing the whole path. You learn how to walk forward even when the ground feels unfamiliar. There is a quiet beauty in that kind of faith. The kind that doesn't come from having answers, but from choosing to keep walking anyway. You may feel like your world has become smaller because fewer people are around you now. But what if your world is actually becoming bigger? What if Allah is clearing space for new ideas, new people, new opportunities, new ways of seeing life that could never fit in the old circle. Sometimes fewer people in your life means more room for growth, more room for reflection, more room for Allah. There will be days when you miss the old laughter, the old comfort, the old feeling of belonging, and it is okay to miss it. It meant something to you. It was a part of your story, but it does not have to be the whole story. Allah allows chapters to end so new ones can begin. And sometimes the new chapter starts in quiet, in space, in a season where it feels like everything has slowed down. But beneath that stillness, something is being written, something is being shaped, something is being prepared. You may not see it yet, but you can feel it. A sense that you are not meant to stay here, a pull towards something you cannot fully explain, a feeling that your life is meant to stand for something deeper. And that feeling is not random, it is guidance. It is Allah reminding you that you were not created to be shaped by small spaces and smaller expectations. You were created to carry something more, something that needs room, something that needs depth. Something that needs a heart that has been pulled away from what is easy so it can grow into what is meaningful. This season is teaching you how to stand without being held. There comes a time in life when what once held you up is no longer there. A person you leaned on, a place that felt safe, a routine that gave your days shape. And suddenly you are standing in the same world but without the same support. You wake up and feel it, not in your hands, not in your feet, but in your chest, a quiet feeling that says, I am on my own now. At first, that feeling can be frightening because humans are not made to feel alone. We are made to connect, to lean, to share weight with others. So when something or someone you depended on is gone, it can feel like the ground has disappeared beneath you. You may even ask Allah, why did you take this away from me? Why am I being left to carry this by myself? But sometimes Allah does not remove support to break you. He removes it to show you something you could not see before. That you are stronger than you think. That you can stand even when your hands are empty. That your heart can hold itself together even when nothing else is holding it. There are days when you feel like you are learning how to walk all over again. Simple things feel heavy. Decisions feel harder. Silence feels louder. You miss the comfort of knowing someone was there. Someone who would listen. Someone who would understand without you having to explain. And now you find yourself speaking more to Allah than to people. Whispering prayers in your head during the day, letting out quiet words in the night, saying things to Him you never felt safe saying out loud. And in that, something begins to change. Slowly, softly, your faith stops being something you talk about and starts becoming something you lean on. There is a kind of strength that grows when no one else is clapping for you, when no one else is watching, when no one else even knows what you are trying to carry. You get up. You move forward. You do what needs to be done, not because you feel strong, but because you don't see another choice. And that kind of strength is quiet. It does not announce itself. It does not demand attention. It lives in small moments, like getting out of bed when your heart feels heavy, like being kind when you feel hurt, like choosing patience when everything inside you wants to react. You may look at yourself and think, I'm just surviving. But in the unseen, Allah sees something different. He sees someone learning how to stand. There are moments when you wish someone would come and rescue you, take the weight from your hands, tell you what to do, tell you which way to go, tell you that everything will be okay. And it is human to want that. But sometimes, Allah does not send someone to hold you. He teaches you how to hold yourself, so that when help does come one day, you are not empty without it. You are not lost without it. You are steady even with it. There is a deep lesson in being left to make your own choices, to take your own steps, to face the results of what you decide. It teaches you responsibility. It teaches you awareness. It teaches you that your life is not something that just happens to you. It is something you walk through, one step at a time, with Allah watching over every move. There are nights when you sit alone and think about how different things used to be. You remember the comfort, the laughter, the ease of knowing someone else was carrying part of the weight. And a soft sadness touches your heart, not anger, not bitterness, just missing. And you let yourself feel it because missing is not weakness. It is proof that you cared. But caring does not mean you were meant to stay in the same place forever. Sometimes caring is what makes leaving so painful. And sometimes that pain is what makes you strong. You may notice that your voice becomes quieter in this season, not because you have nothing to say, but because you are listening more, listening to your own thoughts, listening to your own heart, listening to Allah. You begin to notice how often you used to look to people for answers, for approval, for direction, for comfort. And now you find yourself looking upward instead, asking Allah instead, waiting on Him instead. And that shift is not small. It is the moment when your faith moves from the surface to the core. There is a kind of confidence that grows when you realize you can survive on your own. Not a loud confidence, not a proud one, but a calm one. A quiet knowing that says, no matter what leaves my life, Allah remains. And when you truly feel that in your heart, something inside you settles. The fear of loss becomes softer. The fear of being alone becomes lighter. Because you are not alone. You are accompanied by the one who does not leave. There will be moments when you stumble, when you make mistakes, when you choose the wrong path, and there is no one there to catch you. You fall. You feel the impact. You sit in the pain of your own choices. And in those moments, you learn something that comfort could never teach you. You learn humility. You learn reflection. You learn how to come back to Allah not because someone else told you to, but because you need to. That kind of return is powerful. It is honest. It is real. You may find that your prayers change in this season. They become less about asking for things and more about asking for strength, for guidance, for clarity, for peace in your heart. And those prayers shape you. They shape how you walk, how you speak, how you treat people, how you treat yourself. You begin to realize that standing alone does not mean standing without love. It means learning where your deepest love comes from. There are days when you feel proud of how far you've come, and days when you feel tired of being the one who always has to be strong. And both of those feelings can exist at the same time. You can be grateful and exhausted, hopeful and heavy, faithful and still hurting. And Allah understands all of it. He does not ask you to be perfect. He asks you to keep coming back, to keep turning to Him, to keep walking, even when the road feels quiet and long. Sometimes you look at others and see how supported they are, how many people they have around them, how many hands are holding them up. And a small voice in your heart says, why don't I have that? But what if Allah is teaching you something different? What if He is teaching you how to stand so that one day you can be the one who holds others up? How to listen because you once had no one to listen to you? How to understand because you once felt misunderstood? How to be patient because you once had to wait alone? There is a deep kindness that grows in people who learn how to stand by themselves. They become gentle with others who are struggling. They become soft with hearts that are tired because they know what it feels like. So if this is your season of standing alone, if it feels like you are learning how to carry your own weight, do not think Allah has left you. Think of it as Allah teaching you something sacred, teaching you how to stand with Him as your foundation, how to walk with Him as your guide, how to trust Him as your support. And even when you don't feel strong, even when you feel like you are just barely holding on, remember this. You are still standing, and in the eyes of Allah, that is already a sign of something beautiful being built inside you. Your heart was chosen to carry weight the crowd was never built for. There are hearts in this world that move lightly. They pass through moments, smile and move on. They feel something and it fades. They lose something and they recover quickly. And then there are hearts that carry. They carry words, they carry memories, they carry pain, they carry joy. They carry the feelings of others, even when those feelings were never given to them to hold. If you are someone who feels deeply, you may have wondered many times, why do I carry so much inside me? Why do moments stay? Why do faces return in your mind? Why do the emotions of others feel like they become your own? And sometimes you wish you were lighter. You wish you could forget easily. You wish you could move on quickly. You wish you didn't feel so much. But there is a reason Allah made your heart this way. Some hearts are built to pass through life, and some hearts are built to hold it. There are days when you sit quietly and feel like you are carrying a weight no one else can see. You walk into a room and you can feel the mood before anyone speaks. You can sense when someone is hurting even when they are smiling. You notice when a word lands too hard. You feel when a silence means something. And that kind of awareness can be tiring, because it means you are always feeling, always noticing, always holding. You may feel like you are the one who listens when others talk, the one who understands when others are confused, the one who stays calm when others are emotional. And you think, who listens to me? Who carries me? And sometimes the answer feels like no one. And that can hurt, because even strong hearts get tired. Even wide hearts need rest. There are moments when you feel like you are the place where others come to put their pain down. They talk to you. They open up to you. They trust you with their stories, their fears, their disappointments. And you sit there holding it for them, comforting them, reassuring them. But when you walk away, you take their weight with you. You carry it into your night, into your prayers, into your silence. And over time, that weight adds up. You may find yourself feeling heavy without knowing why, tired without doing anything physical, drained without a clear reason. And it is because your heart has been holding things it was never meant to carry alone. But Allah sees that. He sees the way you hold space for others, the way you stay soft in a hard world, the way you choose kindness even when you are tired. And that does not go unnoticed in the unseen. There is a quiet honor in being a heart that can hold weight, because not every heart can. Some hearts break when they feel too much. Some hearts shut down when things get deep, but yours stays open even when it hurts, even when it is tired, even when it feels like it is too much. And that openness is not an accident. It is something Allah placed inside you for a reason. There will be days when you feel misunderstood. People may see you as quiet, as serious, as emotional, as distant. They may not understand the world that lives inside you. They may not see how much you carry behind your calm face. And that can make you feel alone, because being a deep heart in a surface world can be lonely. You may crave conversations that go beyond jokes and small talk. You may long for someone who sees past your smile and asks, how are you really? And when you don't find that, you turn inward. You talk to Allah. You sit with your thoughts. You find comfort in silence. And in that quiet space, your connection with Allah grows stronger. Because when people cannot reach the depth of your heart, Allah always can. There is a kind of strength that grows when you learn how to carry yourself and others at the same time. It makes you gentle. It makes you patient. It makes you careful with words, because you know how much a single sentence can affect someone. You know how long a moment can stay in a heart. So you choose softness even when the world chooses roughness. You choose understanding even when the world chooses judgment. And that choice is not easy. It costs you something. It costs you energy. It costs you emotion. It costs you sleep sometimes. But it also shapes you into someone who can bring calm into chaos, light into darkness, peace into confusion. You may not realize it, but your presence changes rooms. Not loudly, not dramatically, but gently. People feel safer around you, more understood, more seen, because your heart knows how to sit with theirs without trying to fix them. There are moments when you wish someone would carry you the way you carry others. When you wish someone would notice your tiredness without you having to say it. When you wish someone would sit with you in your silence the way you sit with them in theirs. And sometimes that person doesn't come and you feel a small ache. But in those moments, Allah draws closer. He becomes the one who carries you, the one who listens when you speak inside your heart, the one who understands every feeling before you even name it. And that connection becomes your strength. There is a beauty in being a heart that can hold weight. Because one day, someone will walk into your life completely broken. They will not know what to say. They will not know where to go. They will not know how to breathe through what they are feeling. And you will know exactly how to sit with them. Not because you learnt it, but because you lived it. You lived through your own heaviness, your own nights, your own silence. And Allah turned that into a gift inside you. You may not see the purpose of your sensitivity, your depth, your emotional world, but Allah does. He knows where He will place you, who He will send to you, what hearts will need your heart, and He is shaping you for that. So if tonight you feel heavy, if your chest feels full of things you can't explain, if your heart feels like it carries more than it should, do not see that as a weakness. See it as a sign of what Allah trusted you with. A heart that can feel deeply, a soul that can hold pain and still choose kindness, a presence that can bring peace simply by being there. And even when you feel tired of carrying so much, even when you wish you were lighter, remember this: Allah does not give heavy hearts to small souls. He gives them to those He knows can turn weight into wisdom. One day you will recognize this pain as the moment Allah claimed you for more. There will come a day when you look back at this moment in your life and feel something soft in your chest. Not pain, not anger, but understanding. You will remember how tired you felt, how confused you were, how unsure you were about almost everything. And you will realize something that you could not see back then. This was not the moment you were losing your way. This was the moment your path was being claimed. Right now, it may feel like everything is falling apart, like the ground beneath you is shifting, like the life you thought you were building is slowly slipping through your hands. You may feel like you are standing in the middle of something that does not make sense. But sometimes, what feels like falling is actually being lifted out of a place you were never meant to stay in. There is a strange feeling that comes when you realize you can no longer go back to who you were. Not because that person was bad, but because that person has finished their role in your story. You may miss them. You may wish you could return to their simplicity, their innocence, their certainty. But Allah is not calling that version of you forward. He is calling the one you are becoming. And becoming always feels uncomfortable before it feels right. There are moments when you feel like you have been pulled away from everything that made you feel normal. The people, the routines, the places, the plans. And you sit in that space and think, why did my life have to change like this? But what if this change is not a punishment? What if it is an invitation? An invitation to step into a life that matches the depth of your heart. An invitation to carry a purpose that needs a different kind of person than the one you used to be. Sometimes Allah does not knock on the door of your life. He opens it. And the light that comes in can be blinding at first. It shows you things you didn't notice before about your world, about your relationships, about yourself. And once you see those things, you cannot unsee them. So you stand there holding new awareness in a life that was built for the old you, and that can feel painful because awareness changes everything. You may start to notice how certain words hurt more than they should, how certain environments drain you, how certain paths feel empty even if they look successful. And you wonder, why am I seeing this now? But Allah often opens your eyes when He is preparing to move your feet. There is a moment in every journey when the heart realizes it can no longer live on the surface. It wants depth, it wants meaning, it wants something that lasts longer than moments and attention. And when that moment comes, the old life begins to feel shallow. Not because it was wrong, but because it was not enough anymore. You may feel like you don't belong where you used to, and you don't yet belong where you are going. So you stand in between, in a space that feels empty, quiet, and uncertain. But this in-between space is not a mistake. It is a doorway. It is where Allah teaches you how to walk without leaning on what you used to be, how to trust without seeing the whole path, how to believe without needing proof in your hands. There are nights when you lie awake and think about all the ways your life could have gone, the choices you made, the choices you didn't make, the moments that changed everything. And you feel a mix of regret and gratitude. You wish you had done some things differently, but you are also quietly thankful for the person those choices turned you into. And in that mix of feelings, Allah is shaping something inside you. Humility, understanding, a softer way of looking at others who are still finding their way. There is a deep peace that comes when you stop fighting the change, when you stop trying to hold on to the old version of yourself. When you say even quietly, Ya Allah, if this is where you are taking me, I trust you. That trust does not always feel strong. Sometimes it feels like a small thread. But even a small thread is enough when it is tied to Allah. You may notice that your prayers have become different. Less about asking for specific things, more about asking for guidance, for closeness, for a heart that can stay steady no matter what happens around it. And that shift in prayer is a sign of growth. It means you are no longer just asking Allah to change your life. You are asking Him to change you. There is a quiet kind of courage in letting go of who you thought you were supposed to be, the plans you made, the image you had of your future, the life you imagined in your mind, and saying, Ya Allah, show me what you see instead. Because what Allah sees is always wider than what we imagine, deeper than what we plan, more meaningful than what we chase. Sometimes you feel like this season is breaking you, like you are being stripped of everything familiar. But stripping is not always about loss. Sometimes it is about revealing what remains when everything else is gone. Your faith, your character, your connection with Allah. Those are the things that stay when the world changes. There are moments when you feel like you have nothing left to offer. You feel empty, tired, worn down. But often that is the moment right before Allah begins to fill you in a new way. Not with the things you used to want, but with the things you truly need. Peace, clarity, strength. A sense of direction that does not depend on circumstances. You may not see it now, but this season is marking you. Not with pain, but with purpose. It is teaching you how to walk with awareness, how to speak with kindness, how to choose patience, how to carry faith quietly without needing it to be seen. One day you will meet someone who is standing where you once stood, confused, tired, unsure. And you will recognize that look in their eyes because you have seen it in the mirror, and you will know how to speak to them, not with advice, but with understanding, not with solutions, but with presence. And that will be part of what Allah was preparing you for all along. So if tonight you feel like your life has changed in ways you did not choose, if you feel like you have been pulled into a version of yourself you did not plan, sit with Allah for a moment. Breathe. Let your heart rest in His care. Because sometimes what feels like the end of something is actually the moment Allah begins something much bigger inside you. If you're still here, I want you to know something quietly. Not everyone stays. Not everyone has the patience to sit through a message like this. Not everyone allows their heart to be still long enough to listen, but you did. And that already says something about you. Right now, before you move, before you reach for your phone, before you return to the noise of the world, just stay here for a few seconds. Breathe. Let your heart feel what it feels. Because what you just listened to was not meant to entertain you. It was meant to touch the part of you that only Allah sees. There is a version of you that walked into this video, and there is a version of you that is walking out. You may not notice the difference right away. It may not feel dramatic. It may not feel loud, but something has shifted. Even if it's just a small softness in your chest, even if it's just a quiet calm in your breath, even if it's just a thought that says, maybe I'm not as lost as I thought. Hold on to that. Life will try to rush you again. The world will try to pull you back into speed, noise, and pressure. But remember this moment. Remember how it feels to be still, to be seen, to be understood, not by people, but by Allah. There are things in your life right now that you don't have answers for. Questions you still carry. Situations that still don't make sense. And that's okay. You are not meant to understand everything at once. Some things are only understood later by a stronger heart, by a wiser version of you, by someone who has walked a little further down the road, and Allah is gently walking you there. Step by step, moment by moment, even when you can't see the path, even when you feel tired, even when you feel alone, you are not forgotten. Not for a second, not in a crowd, not in silence, not in the middle of the night when your thoughts get loud. Every quiet tear you've held back, every prayer you've whispered instead of spoken, every moment you chose patience when you could have chosen anger, Allah saw it all. And none of it was small in His sight. So as you leave this video, don't leave it like you finished something. Leave it like you received something. A reminder, a softness, a quiet strength, a deeper trust. Let it walk with you into your next moment, into your next conversation, into your next decision, because the world doesn't need you louder. It needs you steadier. It doesn't need you faster. It needs you truer. And Allah did not bring you this far to let you fade. He brought you this far to let you become. So tonight, or this morning, or whatever time it is where you are, Before you move on with your day, say, even if only in your heart, Ya Allah, I trust you with who I am becoming, and then walk forward. Not rushed, not afraid, but gently, knowing that the one who guided you here is still walking with you now.